Get ready for the Work Better podcast. I'm Toree McQueen, here to share stories on what's working and what's not in business and in life from humans all over the world. I believe everyone's version of success looks different, but in the end, we should all love our life's work, and in doing so, live a life of complete fulfillment. And if you don't love your work, I'm hoping you'll tune in and uncover some inspiration here to work better. Well, hello, my friends. So glad to be back on the podcast as the newly refreshed Work Better podcast. I'm so excited to be here and finally bring the podcast up and get back at it because it has been way too long. And I promise I will never take that long of a break again. But more about that on another episode. Today, I just want to welcome you on. And I just want to share with you about why the rebranding of the podcast was so important and why we went from Homefront Podcast to Work Better, kind of what not to expect on the show and what to expect on the show for this season and beyond. So let's kind of dive in a little bit. Why the name change? So, for those of you who don't know, the confusion with the Homefront and my real estate business was kind of a big confusion for people. I think the wordplay on Homefront, people thought that I had a real estate podcast. But again, that was only people who knew me in person and just knew that I had a podcast, but they never really cared to actually tune in and listen. For those of my followers that actually do listen, knew it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with my belief that success starts with the home. Home is my passion, and my purpose with the Homefront was for everyone to see that through other stories, no matter how successful people are seen on the outside, it's actually what's happening on the home front that truly matters in the end. And in turn, if you have a happy home front or home life, then you tend to gain more success out of life itself, right? So that was kind of my mission with the home front. But with my real estate business, I think it confused some people. And also over time, throughout other ventures that I'm planning and pursuing, I thought that a new name would be best. So in naming it, I went back to my why in general or my overall purpose of having the show. And I kind of asked myself, like, why is it that I cared about having a podcast so much? Like, I love having a podcast. It fulfills me, it makes me happy, and I love just sharing with the world. So that was a question that I asked myself when I went to go rename. And another question is, what did I love about it? And what did I want to personally get out of it and share with the world? So I kind of went back, and this took me a little bit longer too, because I kept thinking, those of you who know me know I'm such a visionary and I can go 0 to 10,000 in a matter of a heartbeat. So I really had to take some time in solitude to really think about this. But then it just really came clear. So I came to two conclusions. So number one, I know I wanted to use my strengths to help serve others near and far. I'd say my biggest strengths are in communication and ability to hold many different kinds of relationships with people. And it gives me a unique perspective on many things. And aside from that, I am bold. I don't know how else to say it, but I have a pretty bold personality. And I never used to think that I was bold until I realized things that I thought were normal actions really weren't the norm for most people I was surrounded by. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can definitely backfire in some cases, but if I were to use my willingness to be bold along with some of my other strengths, I knew that I could really do something with that. So I figured following my unique curiosities and interviewing others, since I love people, and asking the questions that maybe others weren't wanting nor willing to ask, for whatever reason that may be, but then sharing that with others, because I do think that hearing what other people have to say gives other people so much more wisdom and perspective on things that they can use throughout their life to possibly work better. So, for sure, always loved the podcast idea of sharing my conversations with others and asking the questions that people weren't able or willing to ask. And then, secondly, I believe in a world where if you don't love your work, then there's always a better way. And everyone should love their life's work, you know? But if they don't, then there's always a way to work better, right? So instead of complaining about how things are. I know the world can be a pretty dark place. Like, I just want this to be a little light in the corner or the corner of your life that you can turn to look for ways to work better. And I know that looks different for everybody, but so that's just my thoughts. I want this to be a bright corner in your world. And if I could wave a magic wand and wish that everyone had the mindset and courage and bravery to believe in themselves and seek the opportunities that they themselves desire, oh, that would just, I think, make the world a way happier place. And I know many people that feel just stuck where they are simply because they don't know how to get out, or they're working on a hamster wheel, trying their hardest, but can't break free of the darn hamster wheel, whether it be their work situation, their relationships, their home situation, or just nowhere they envision being in life. You know, I just think that if they aren't happy with where they're at, or they don't love where they're at, then they can work better. We can find a better way. I find that many people also making comments about wanting to do something, but out of the corner of their mouth, they tend to say, "Oh, not in the cards," or they literally believe it's so far out of reach. And I think it's very hard for people who aren't surrounded by others who think that way to actually get what they want out of life, because then they too believe that it really isn't a reality. When deep down, like, I see people all the time and they can literally have whatever life they want. And even worse, when I feel like people are unhappy with what they have, they tend to bring others down and really infect them. And then it brings the whole crowd down. You guys all know what I mean when I say this. If someone's complaining or someone's in, I'm not talking just bad moods or venting or going through some hardship. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about straight up negativity because they're not happy with themselves. They don't love themselves. They're not proud of their work because maybe they're lost in even understanding what work they want to do, right? And it really does sadden me. So call me a dreamer, but really I just think anything is possible if you want something bad enough. And boy, do I think people want it. They just don't believe in themselves to think that it's possible, especially without sacrificing home life or things that matter. Which I totally get, you guys, because I've had those same fears. Anyways, with this podcast, I hope it gives people a little bit of encouragement to just follow the spark that you already have inside you. I want it to encourage people to love their life through their work. And by work, I don't mean just professionally, I mean personally also. Your entire life's work. Like for me, that's my work in raising a happy and successful family and having a thriving business or businesses and positive relationships and impact all over the world, right? But yours may look different and everybody else's may look different. And people I interview could be different. Um, and I could get really cheesy and tell you that, oh, you're the main character in your own story. But you guys, it's so true. You are truly the main character. But if you don't start acting like the main character and working better, then you're just going to be on the side watching other people live the dream or not live the dream and just be on the side wishing you had or wondering what if or being upset with other people and the expectations you have for them instead of worrying about working better yourself. So at the end of the day, true peace and happiness and fulfillment lie in the result of truly loving yourself and loving your life's work. So I'll say it again. If you don't love your work, there's always a solution to work better. So, my friends, hence the name. And here we are with the Work Better podcast. It's a podcast for people who are striving for more, who are curious and want tips and inspiration to work better, to live the life they truly love. So, let me be the one to welcome you to the show. Now, let's go over what not to expect on the show or this season or probably from me ever. This is not all about work. Okay. Just like I'm not a very surface level person. And so I really like gaining perspective. It's not all about work. It's not all about money or material things. We aren't chasing anything here, nor are we all about making you feel like you are not enough because you are. You just need to feel that you are. And the only way to feel it is, I think, by listening in. You'll find grace in yourself and others and realizing nothing is perfect, but everything and anything is actually possible. So, no shaming, no blaming, no limits here. We interview all types of people in many different industries and even tax brackets. And what to expect on the show is raw interviews and stories with myself. I'll share some insiders and behind the scenes of me trying to get the life that I want, and other CEOs, entrepreneurs, experts, and thought leaders in various industries sharing their life's work as well. And just giving clues and breadcrumbs as to what works and what doesn't in business and life overall. Week to week will vary, and my hope is that you will find perspective, some golden nuggets, and encouragement to follow that spark inside of you. And I'm sure you're going to see that there are so many different types of people on the show and notice that we are all on our own paths. But in all reality, we're not always surrounded by people that encourage or relate to us, right? So in tuning in, just know that you'll be surrounded by like-minded people who are also on their own life's journey listening in. I'm hoping that you'll also connect to people you love, leaders you love, systems and solutions for business you may love, things for the home that you may love, trainings you love, along with tips, ideas, and takeaways that empower you to love more of your life's work. Because life is too darn short not to. On the Work Better podcast, I'm on a mission, you guys, to bring you all kinds of solutions to loving your work, whatever that may be, so that we can create a world where everyone loves their own life's work. So if you don't love your work and it's not where you want to be, tune in and try something different to, work better. I'm so happy and grateful, you guys, to have you guys back as a part of this season. And I just can't wait to dig in and start sharing with you all of the good stories and lessons and conversations that I've had with some of these people. And I always love to hear what you guys want to hear on the show also. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out to me if you have anybody that you would absolutely love to hear and specific questions you would want me to ask on the show, because that's what I'm here for, guys. Anyways, can't wait for the rest of the season. I'd officially like to welcome you aboard the Work Better podcast. Excited to have you. Well, my friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Work Better podcast. I hope you've wrapped up your golden nugget and take it with you on your journey to finish out the week. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, leave a review, or reach out to me personally if you have any special requests for guests or questions you'd like me to share on the show. In the meantime, I'll be over here rooting for you. Until next time.